What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. In my last video, I talked about early career anxiety, and I was looking through the comments that people left, and I think someone made a really great point. They said, quote, "Having gained my license and opened the doors of my practice 2 months ago, but not having found any clients yet, I'd absolutely trade the anxiety of seeing clients to the anxiety of my currently unpaid rent and bills piling up." Whew, I mean, been there, done that, and yes, that was, for me, the most stressful part of my career. Let's talk about that today. Also, I'm not trying to put on like a sultry voice or a, frog voice. I'm sick and this is what it sounds like right now. I feel fine. This is what my voice sounds like. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. Let's talk a bit about what if you've had your doors open and your practice just isn't full or even half full, or maybe it's totally empty. Now, of course, no single YouTube episode could address like every single marketing thing going on. Like I have entire courses about this, but I'd like to think of this episode as like the triage to go through if you're in this situation. Start here and then build from this episode. But I think you're still going to have some helpful takeaways from the episode. That's my goal, at least. Let's see if that happens. All right, so let's dive into this question. If someone were to call me up and say, "Marie, I am freaking out. My doors have been open for weeks or months or longer, and I have no clients, or I have just a couple clients, or the couple that I got left," here are the questions I would ask to help somebody troubleshoot this situation. First things first, I'm going to ask, well, what's your existing marketing strategy? A lot of you, I know, are listening and going, "Oh shoot, I do not have a marketing strategy," but most of you have a marketing strategy, whether you know to call it that or not. Basically, the question is, what avenues are available for potential clients to find you? Folks are going to have some avenue typically, right? You're listed on Psychology Today, or maybe you're paneled with insurance, or maybe you have a website, maybe you've been networking with professionals. There's something you've tried to make an avenue for clients to find you. As we run through this triage, I'd like you to kind of think of this as like we're taking our car into the mechanic and opening up the hood and just saying, "Okay, I don't know what's going on, but my car's not working right now. Can you just take a look and see what's going on?" And we're going to look under the hood of your marketing strategies, basically. If I think like a mechanic, and I'm not a mechanic, so mechanics out there, feel free to correct me in the comments. But if I were to think like a mechanic and we're looking under the hood, we might say, "Okay, go ahead and start your car and let's see what happens under the hood." And maybe you hear some weird noises, or you can tell by looking at it that there's something under the hood that's not working the way it should be. We want to kind of follow a similar approach when we're looking at your marketing strategies to kind of say, "Okay, let's imagine that I am my own potential client. Let's walk through every single step of the process of how they would go about finding me and see if there's any snags along the way." Do your best to imagine that you're someone who doesn't know your name and try to figure out how that person might find you. So let's just pretend you have a Psychology Today profile. That's your primary avenue where potential clients could find you. And let's say one of your favorite specialties is working with adults diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder. Then maybe you might open up Psychology Today, type in something like autism, and make sure the settings are set for your area and search. If your profile isn't somewhere towards the top, you gotta scroll a bunch or go on the second, third page, chances are really low that a potential client is going to contact you through that avenue. And in this example, we're running through your Psychology Today profile or some sort of online directory. Keep searching for your different primary specialties and see where your listing shows up. How far do you have to scroll down before you get to your profile? And even if your marketing strategy is less techy, you can still walk through this process just in a different way. Like, let's say your primary marketing avenue right now is through networking with other professionals. Well, maybe check in with some of those professionals and say, "Hey, I'm just kind of doing an inventory of my marketing strategy, and I'm wondering, have you ended up giving my name out to any potential clients along the way?" Some of them are probably going to say, "Oh my goodness, no, I think you're great, and I haven't given your name out maybe because I didn't have any referrals that I needed to make in general, or my referrals are having this kind of presenting issue, and I know you specialize in that presenting issue," or you're going to get some data around it. So whatever available avenue you have for folks to find you, try to see if you can walk through all the steps of how to get to you. And if it's difficult at any point to find yourself along the way, then there's a good chance that your snag is somewhere in there. One of the steps in that process isn't working. From what I can tell, for most therapists who are in this situation where they have some marketing avenues available, but their practice isn't filling up, this is the snag that they hit. Now, if somehow I'm wrong and you run through this kind of diagnostic strategy and your name is showing up and you're still not filling your practice, then that tells us that there's something further down the line, once somebody has discovered that you exist, that's having some sort of snag that requires some troubleshooting. In other words, the issue here typically isn't then that people can't find you, it's just that they're not booking with you once they've found you. If you're in this situation where you are showing up like towards the top of search results, your name is getting passed out a lot and things like that, but people just aren't booking with you, then I would suggest you'd have a friend or two, some trusted colleagues, run through your entire marketing funnel. I get marketing funnel is like weird jargon. It's basically just the series of steps involved for somebody to go from discovering that you exist to booking with you. If my marketing funnel is my website showing up in Google search results, if a friend sees my profile show up in Google search results and clicks on it, is there anything that happens between them showing up on my website and booking that is either confusing, unclear, maybe it's not clear how to go about contacting me, or maybe they thought they were going to find one thing when they clicked on my website, but then once they got there, the messaging didn't match up and seemed to be saying something else. If they could run through that with you, then that's going to give you a lot of information. So hopefully at this point in the process, you've identified some kind of snag. Some of these snags you might know how to fix pretty immediately, but for a lot of the snags, you're probably going to be able to see what the snag is, but not know how to fix it. So let's say psychology today is your primary available avenue for folks to potentially find you, and you searched for all your primary specialties and your profile is not showing up anywhere near the top. So you might say, okay, I can see what the problem is, but maybe I have no idea how to fix it. How do I get my profile to show up at the top? At this point, now that you have in hand, hopefully, a pretty clear problem that you need help fixing, I would suggest that you start by getting free, accessible information about how to fix it. You can try YouTube. Obviously, I like YouTube because here I am. I love YouTube. But it could be, asking around in Facebook groups for therapists or, subreddits for therapists, asking your therapist networks, especially if you already know people who are marketing their practice through the same means that you're attempting to market your practice through. A lot of times you can get quite a bit of information for free before you even have to pay for something. And of course, whatever feedback you get, go ahead and implement it. Some of it is kind of simple feedback, like, okay, I'm just going to tweak some wording here and there and a few things. And some of it is going to be more involved. It's going to take time for you to go ahead and implement it. At this point, I would say lather, rinse, repeat. What I don't want to happen is for you to say, I went through this whole process. I took my therapy practice to the car mechanic. We looked under the hood. We identified the problem. We fixed it, and I'm all done. That's not how these things typically work. There's maintenance, you gotta keep checking. Maybe you fixed one thing, but you didn't realize that further down the road, there's also an additional problem that you have yet to discover. Keep going back and running through the same tips that I've already named, because you might find more snags as you go. I think for at least some folks, if not a lot of folks, if you run through everything I just said, that might have already been enough to fix the problem for you. But there's going to definitely still be folks who maybe streamline whatever marketing avenue they've been leaning on, but they're still not getting enough clients. So once you've smoothed out all the kinks in your existing marketing strategy, if you're still not getting enough clients or any clients, now it's time to pivot and consider a different marketing avenue. Keep the one you have and add a new one, or if the one you have is just completely not working for you, you can drop it and start a new one. For a variety of reasons, generally, I think it's wisest to take on one new marketing strategy at a time, fine-tune it, master it, make it the best you can make it within your reasonable skill set. And then once that's smoothed out, you can add on a new marketing avenue after that. In time, I think it does actually make a lot of sense to have multiple avenues for potential clients to find you, but I encourage you to just focus on one of them at a time. All right, I think this concludes how I would approach this imagined coaching call. This is exactly the line of questions that I would run through with pretty much anybody. And hopefully this can start to get you off on the right foot. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes is an all-in-one practice management system. They can help you with scheduling, notes, and billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform and so much more. If you'd like to check out Therapy Notes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, thank you for joining me in this episode. I feel like I haven't talked about marketing your practice in a little while, and this is just what I felt like talking about today. Also, I'll say that I'm filming this before I know what the election results are, and I'm kind of like plugging my ears and singing la 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 because I'm trying to pretend that nothing is happening until I actually know what the results are. Like, I voted, and now there's nothing else I can do, so I'm just waiting. Anyway, I'm just saying that because I don't know by the time this episode comes out if like utter chaos. I have some fears about what's gonna, listen, we don't need to talk about it, but if for whatever reason this episode feels a bit tone deaf, it's just because I already filmed it before whatever's happening. On that note, until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.